Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of Good Guys Sports, joined by myself, your host, as always, Blake Gerke, Jackson Gerke, Mike Roby here. And boy, do we have some exciting things happening this week, this month, the rest of 2025 in the world of sports. And we are here to cover it for you. We're going to start with a little bit of college football chat. Unless you're living under a rock, you probably have been following the college football playoff rankings reveal that happened last weekend. Lots of interesting inclusions, exclusions, controversies generated, teams happy, teams not happy with the final rankings. Just to remind you, all you listeners and viewers at home, it's a 12-team format with five teams getting in automatically as the highest ranked conference champions, that being Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech, and then the two at large bids, Tulane and James Madison, sneaking in there and for 11 and 12 in this CFP ranking. So we'll have the first round games taking place not this weekend, but the weekend after that, the 19th and the 20th. So the top four seeds getting a bye, those teams being Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech. Indiana, of course, who defeated Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game this previous weekend, game that we mentioned here on the show, and I think not many of us probably gave. Well, I say give Indiana a chance. I mean, it's one versus two, right? But it was definitely a big statement, showpiece win for the Hoosiers. Obviously, taking over that number one seed. You can argue. We'll see whether or not it ends up mattering who has the one seed, who has the two seed in terms of this playoff path. I will say Indiana does avoid the likes of Georgia in their side of the bracket. So they have Texas Tech as their other bye team on their side of the bracket. So could end up being beneficial for the Hoosiers. But we should maybe just talk about, we're going to preview the matchups first round next week. So we'll save that for next week. But Jackson, we should talk about these rankings and some of the teams that feel a little bit aggrieved to not be in the playoffs. Me as a Vanderbilt fan, I can throw them in that bucket. Vanderbilt putting together a great season. Heisman finalists. We'll get to that in a little bit. Diego Pavia, as well from the SEC, the likes of Texas, finishing 13, Vanderbilt finishing 14th in the overall rankings. Of course, ahead of teams that did make the playoffs, Tulane and James Madison. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, they get in over those teams because of the committee's obligation to let in the five ranked highest conference champions. And then I guess the biggest snub, Jackson, that we saw probably was Notre Dame, who the prior week was ranked ahead of Miami. And in this latest round of rankings, Miami, who did not play in the AC title game, shout out to the Duke Blue Devils, ACC champions, who will be playing in the Sun Bowl, not the playoffs. And then a team, Miami, that is not ACC champions but is ranked higher, will be playing in this playoff ahead of Notre Dame. So, Jackson, I guess we should start with that. Notre Dame is pretty upset to the fact that they're not even playing in a bowl game at all. So, what do you think? I mean, I know you're not a Notre Dame fan, but do you think they have reason to be aggrieved at these rankings?
Blake, I was listening to all those shows on ESPN, and they are just being a complete bias on this. The reason why Notre Dame got left out of the college football playoff is because of the head-to-head matchup with Miami in in their season opener Labor Day matchup, and also I am surprised that I am in complete surprise and complete shell shock, and nobody saw this coming. It was a it was a complete absolute joke, and that Alabama got blown out and they lost the conference championship game, and they don't drop out a few spots
You picked
down,
Alabama to win, though.
and yeah, yeah, but Georgia just to me were the better team, and give them a lot of credit, but I think that Georgia's defense was really what made them win that game, and Gunnar Stockton was really by far by far the player of that game. And yes, Alabama did get blown out of that game, but the committee decided to not um, let them be left out of the playoff, which is a
Why do you
bit
think that is? Why do
surprising.
you think that is, Jackson? I mean, what's your take on that? Like, is it just the brand of Alabama?
I think either that or I think it has something to do with the committee room that was just behind closed doors, and that they had a tough decision to make whether it would be Notre Dame or Miami. They stayed up till like 2:30 in the morning to go for all this, and that and that and that and that Alabama fought themselves. That's not the brand of Alabama, and for the team itself. It it was just that the college football playoff and the committee just had no choice but to leave out Notre Dame, and that put a lot of pressure on the head coach and for their and for their student athletes on this program and for the school, and and it really just became just just a really bit of a just a really uh, just a lot to be more of a distraction for what this school was going with. But to me, Blake, I think what the college football should really do is that next season there's a possibility that they could add up to 16 teams. So if we were having this conversation a year from now, then they would be in the college football playoffs. Same with my brother's Vanderbilt Commodores and our Duke Blue Devils. And so what I think they should do, in my opinion, is they should get rid of the conference championships and and instead instead you add in the play-in tournament, like the NBA Cup does, for example. You
Mm.
should so I would do that, and I would just make things a lot more exciting and interesting, like the NCAA basketball tournament does in March Madness. So I think I would do that, and so to me that way that would just put a sign of relief and just really just and make all the college football fans feel a lot better about this. But overall, in my opinion, of Notre Dame, that they have left out of that they decided to drop out and skip a bowl game, and that puts a lot of pressure, and possibly maybe Marcus Freeman's on the hot seat, but Blake Lumberger, jump in for me, because Notre
Well,
Dame, the fan
you,
base, including PJ Brown, is not happy right now from what the fan base is going for right now. Be a Lumberger.
there's a famous movie. It's one of Mike's favorite movies. There's no crying in baseball. Jackson goes for football too. There's no crying in football. Play the game. A lot of Notre Dame fans are not happy with that decision. But Jackson, let me tell you real quick. Back to your point. You're on to something. And I'll tell you what, Jackson. If you remember, months ago we suggested that basketball take ice hockey's lead and play international versus U.S. in the All-Star game. And Jackson, I got breaking news. Guess what they're going to do in the All-Star game this year?
What's that?
They're going to play international versus the USA. And I guarantee you it's going to spark a little competition. So your suggestions, Jackson, I think they're listening to our show. Be careful making these suggestions, because they listen to our basketball suggestion for the All-Star game, and they might take your suggestion for the college ball playoffs next year with the play-in game. So good call, Jack.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think I agree with you, Jack, on the point. I think conference championship games with the current playoff format have become obsolete. Mike, I want to jump to you here on these CFP rankings, this bracket. What was your first reaction when you saw who made it and who was left out?
I think the argument is, Notre Dame in Alabama versus Notre Dame in Miami. That was what surprised me, is that Alabama is still in the playoffs.
So let me
Um,
run this scenario by you here, Mike. So Alabama is currently sitting at 10-3, one extra game, obviously.
yeah,
I guess the debate was we don't want to punish you for losing an extra game. The other teams weren't
right.
playing.
And if that is the case, then why count the championship games at all for anything?
Exactly. I mean, they should just
because
yeah,
they can't have it both ways.
they should just forfeit the game if it's not going to
Yeah,
benefit them.
but you look at the last 5 games that Alabama's played. The only one of those games that they win significantly, and that was against LSU. The rest of the last 5 games, Bama,
And Eastern Illinois.
yeah, I mean they haven't really played, that well.
Mike, I think to your point, let me run this scenario by you too. The Crimson Tide before the SC championship game had 2 losses,
Hmm.
this exact same as Texas and Vanderbilt. And so the committee's criteria is ranking your losses, quality losses, strength of opponent, and whatnot.
Yeah,
Texas's losses this year were to an Ohio State team who finished the season ranked second in the country, and they lost to Florida. Granted, they're not a
hmm,
good team. They are not a ranked team. Alabama's losses were to a ranked Oklahoma who finished 1 spot ahead of them, and then an
right.
unranked Florida State team, the
Florida
very
State team.
first
Yeah.
game of the year, right? And then Vanderbilt's 2 losses were both to teams who finished ranked ahead of them, Texas at Texas and at Alabama.
Hmm.
So if we're going to use the argument that your quality of losses is a big differentiator, then I
Yeah.
don't see how Alabama's resume, maybe you could make the argument that the fact they qualified for the SEC title game
Yeah.
puts them ahead of Vanderbilt and Texas. But if you use that argument, then you say, well, they qualify for it, but they have their butts kicked by Georgia, so that should knock them back
Yeah.
too. So it's a bit of a weird
Yeah.
situation.
Well, I think, Vanderbilt's case, the strength of their victory at Tennessee, that should have got them in.
Absolutely. And think
But
about Texas beating A&M as well in that last
yeah,
week, right?
yeah. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the ACC and what a mess, they've gotten themselves into with some of their scheduling. For example, I was reading, so Virginia ended up 7-1 in the conference, but they lost to SMU and NC State. Well, it turns out that the NC State and the Virginia game was a non-conference game because of the way ACC schedules their games. The ACC can only schedule 8 conference games per team.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
So Virginia and NC State got together and decided, you know what, we always play head to head, so let's continue playing head to head. So each of the schools got together on their own outside of the ACC to schedule the head to head competition. And so that was officially a non-ACC game. And I'm like, really?
Wow.
What sense does that make? It's because the ACC, expanded and, they don't have division play anymore. But I think the whole mess, yeah, part of it was, not that, congratulations to Duke. They well-deserved victory.
Yeah.
But, the cluster mess that the ACC got themselves into on the scheduling,
Crazy.
it was nuts.
Mike, I didn't know that, but let me ask you a question. Is that a saving point for continuing the Auburn, Alabama rival game, that they could just say it's not a conference game?
Well,
With
they
this,
could. I guess that would be up to the SEC.
like, is this because that's what everybody's afraid is going to go away? Is it why are we
Yeah.
putting
It comes
these
down to the
crazy?
conference. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in those 2 schools, I mean,
Texas A&M, right?
yeah,
Same thing.
yeah,
Say this before, 2 years ago, this was not a
yeah,
conference game. So let's mark this on the
yeah,
schedule as a non-conference.
yeah. Well, let me share this other little tidbit that I was kind of looking at. Say, for example, Duke got in to the playoffs because they won the ACC. Then you would have both Duke and JMU both potentially in the playoffs. And what I'm getting at, then you might have Louisville upset because Louisville beat both Duke and JMU.
You can think yourself into knots here with this
So,
head-to-head,
so
Mike,
you're
can
never
you?
going to, I guess my point, you're never going to please everybody. But I think Jackson's suggestion about expanding the teams, the field to 16 teams, and makes total sense.
It's a complete disaster, Mike. A complete disaster. And the reason why I say that is because in the committee room, it was one of those years where they had one of the toughest decisions they have yet to make, and what was a tough decision for like hours and hours through overnight, and they and like I said that they ended up, like I said before, that they ended up deciding Notre Dame to be left out, Miami over Notre Dame, and Alabama over Notre Dame, and that was what it came down to, Mike.
Hmm.
Let me ask you guys this: did JMU play a conference championship game in the last week when all the other
Yeah,
conference
They did. They beat Troy in the Sun Belt
they
Championship.
did? That's right. Okay, that's going to debunk what I was going to
yeah.
say.
Tough
Yeah.
Well, I
tough
mean,
game
look,
against
here's
Troy, you know.
I don't want to ruin the Army Navy experience weekend, but I guarantee you Notre Dame would be more than happy to play this weekend against JMU as kind of a play-in game. They
Well,
would have been more than happy to play last
yeah,
week as a play-in game. They would be, you know what I'm saying? You see what I'm getting at? Like
Hmm.
if the
Yeah,
conference tournaments don't matter, then give JMU a chance, give Troy a chance, or not Troy, it's Tulane a chance, and just do like playing games, kind of like the NCAA
yeah. Like the first
does.
four kind of thing. No, I think that's a really good, and I think to Jackson and Blake's point, this is what I'm proposing here, gentlemen. I think people would be a lot happier, and I actually don't hate a 12 team. I think adding teams, going from a 12 to a 16, I think is just like an easy temporary fix just to make people. But I actually don't mind a 12 team format. But I think the issue they had last year is an issue they're having again this year. Last year was even worse, where they gave the highest ranked conference champions a bye. They got rid of that because they said, well, there's really only two conferences that matter anyway. And then in this new format, they're giving five highest ranked conference champions a place in the playoffs. When in reality, the way college football is moving is conferences don't matter. There's only two that matter, the Big Ten and the SEC. So why are we giving free spots in a playoff to James Madison and Tulane when there's only two conferences? I mean, I'm being a little bit harsh here, but they have quality football teams. So why don't we do like Jackson and BL were suggesting, a play-in game for the last spot in the playoffs between non traditional big conference, so non SEC, and or we could even do, if you want to lump in the Big 12 and the ACC, you can do a non uh SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, get that last spot in, and then the conference champion of the Big 12 and the ACC get in automatically. So I think a lot of people would have been more satisfied if instead of Miami getting in, uh Notre Dame got that 10 spot, Duke got the ACC spot, and then the last spot goes to the highest ranked non-conference team. It probably would have been Tulane or
Yeah.
yeah, Tulane in this. I mean, I've got nothing against the Dukes of James Madison, but it just seems like, and maybe you could even throw Notre Dame as they're like in their own conference. They're kind of their own thing or whatever. That's a whole nother issue here as well, right?
Yeah.
If Notre Dame was in the ACC, they would have won it and got a high seed, and nobody would be complaining about it. But it's they're creating too many arguments for themselves, and so they're solving one problem, Mike, but then they're creating
Hmm.
another one for the next year, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. But just playing a little devil's advocate, you look at Tulane, JMU, and Duke. They each won their respective conferences. But the way the playoffs were, the last, they call it the group of five.
Right.
So they've grouped the smaller conferences or less competitive conferences, if you will, together, and they only had two seats. So
Hmm.
you had three conference winners, but they can only get two seats. And so they decided to not allow they dropped what they thought would be the weakest team of those three, which happened to be Duke. So
Yeah.
Tulane and JMU, one could argue, earned their way into the playoffs by being their respective conference champions. But that
Yes.
still doesn't answer why the three teams of Alabama, Notre Dame, and Miami, what did they do to earn their way in? And I think that's the question they got to figure out.
Right. And maybe the answer is that nobody will be happy with any format. There's always going to be somebody that's unhappy given the
Yeah.
circumstances.
There's always going
Um,
to be the Vanderbilt.
exactly. And I think it's really unlucky that, I mean, granted, in the years of like a 14 playoff, Vanderbilt wouldn't have been in this discussion or whatever. So, I mean, you have to put everything in context as to the current system and what it would have been in prior years for sure. Um, but
Let
I
me
just
ask.
think, yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
Blake.
go ahead, Blake. Sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
I just heard this today out of nowhere, and I haven't heard much else about it. But what is this contract that was signed that no one knew about with Notre Dame this year or last year to prevent this from ever happening going forward? Have y'all heard about this?
No.
Is a
There's there's very few people that even know this. Some people that are even close to the college football playoffs didn't even know about this until it was kind of revealed that this won't happen again. And I don't know. I was hoping you guys would know the specifics of what deal has been struck behind closed doors with Notre Dame so that this won't happen again. But I don't know the details. I just heard it on Sports Talk Radio,
Hmm.
but I haven't heard this. Apparently, before this even happened this year, they thought it may happen, and there's already been a solution, of course, favoring Notre Dame. But I didn't know if you guys had heard what it
Yeah.
was.
well, so I think there's been talk of because Notre Dame, I think, and this is I don't know the exact specifics here, but because Notre Dame gets preference in the play for football, we're talking about in the playoff format, i.e., like they're basically, the analogy is like they're their own independent island within like a country, if you want to use that analogy, to where they can kind of like dictate what they want and get preferential treatment from the playoff committee. I think some ADs of other conferences and schools are starting to be a little bit more antagonistic towards Notre Dame in terms of scheduling them going forward, in terms of like, oh, well, Notre Dame's not in a conference, they can do their own thing and they still get ranked high. So why are we even like working with them to schedule them on our upcoming schedules and stuff like that? So yeah, this Notre Dame thing is kind of not surprising that it's hit a bit of a loggerhead here in terms of Notre Dame being in their own conference, being excluded, and then pitching a fit about not making the playoffs. Uh, and they don't really have to answer to a conference, right? They answer to themselves ultimately because the NCAA doesn't have any power in this. It comes down to the CFP committee, who is ultimately really being run by the SEC and the Big Ten, the conferences that have power. So where does Notre Dame fit into this? They're kind of trying to fight as this independent entity. But yeah, it's an interesting case
Yeah, I would
with
think,
this year.
part of Notre Dame's argument is their ability to fill stadiums.
Yeah,
When they're on the road visiting somebody, that the visiting stadium is probably going to be 90 to 100% sold out. And I
I
think
agree,
that's
and I think again to play devil's advocate to that point, Mike. I think a lot of the big schools in the SEC and the Big Ten, if Ohio State said, "Oh,
mhm.
well, we just want to be an independent team and
Yeah,
play whoever we want," like Ohio State could travel to and play. I mean, they still play a lot of the big teams anyway, but
yeah,
it is. I think particularly given the way that college football has gone, in which all of the relevant teams, again, apologies to Texas Tech, are in the SEC and the Big Ten. So the fact that Notre Dame still, I guess, lives by their independent status
Hmm.
and expects to have the same treatment as a Georgia, Ohio State, or whatever is a bit of a talking point given
Yeah.
the way that the CFP has progressed. So definitely want to keep
Hmm.
an eye on going forward.
Yeah. Tell you,
And
a
yeah,
tangent to that, there's another contract that I was reading today. Um, University of Utah just signed an agreement with a venture capital firm,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Mm-hmm.
venture capital firm is basically, for profit, turning the athletic department into a for-profit entity and handling all the NIL money and such.
Which team, Mike? Was that Utah?
Now Utah, yeah.
Yeah, they're the first team that's going to put patches also
Hmm.
on uniforms, and the ruling for the patches thing is coming out in a few months. So they went ahead and front ran the allowing you to put endorsements and sponsors on your jerseys.
Hmm. So that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on, and how effective they are, and if it spreads to other schools, and how, I mean, that could just change the whole landscape.
right. And before we move on to college football, I do want to. Before we move on, Blake, I do
Yeah.
want to real quick. Now, this is a sports show. I will not mention this. I will leave this all to the legal analyst. But Sharon Moore has been fired from
Well, yeah,
Michigan
Jackson. I don't
due
think
to a
wait, no, we're not
due
talking about
to a
that story.
off
Not
due to
Jackson,
the
Jackson,
off the field in investigation from a staff
yeah,
member,
no, we're not talking about that
which
story,
I
but
will not get
not
into.
yeah,
But
yeah, no.
here's what I think Michigan should go after the firing
No, but Jackson,
because of those
Jackson.
reasons. Now,
We're not talking about the story though.
I'm
We
not.
don't
I
no
am not.
Jackson, no, Jackson. I want to talk about a different game. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the Army Navy game taking
Okay.
place this weekend because
In
I know you got some
Baltimore,
thoughts on this game. So I want to know your thoughts on Army Navy and who you think is going to win that game.
Sorry about that, Blake. I was just trying to make a point here, but I'm
Army
not.
Navy game.
I'm not talking about that. But all I'm saying is what Michigan should go after is
Army Navy game.
is, is that they should is that they is that Kalen DeBoer. I will not rule out, but he has no plans to leave Alabama and Tuscaloosa. You have Marcus Freeman, Lincoln Riley, and the Washington the head coach from Washington and the Chargers. So I think, in my opinion, Michigan should go after Lincoln Riley. So I will leave it at that. Now to the Army Navy game. Um, and we'll get to all the other SEC coaching hires for I'll say that thought for another day. But I'm focusing to the Army Navy game now. So the Army Navy game is the most patriotic and the most support military armed forces for most watch college football game for those from all over the world overseas. And then the Army Navy game, one of the most college football game ever played. And
Gonna be Jack. What's the location this year?
it is in Baltimore, in the Charm City.
Is Mike gonna go? Mike, you gonna go?
I'd like to.
How far is that for you?
It's probably 45 miles.
Oh no, you go. Oh man, it's like, guys, how did we not plan a trip out? This could have been our get together. Jackson,
Yeah.
we got to get on that next year because it rotates, right? It goes from Baltimore to the
Well,
Eagles.
they
So it
they
goes to
used many years ago. They used to play in Philadelphia every year because that was kind of the midpoint between Annapolis and West Point, and they played at the old JFK Stadium. But the last decade or two, they've been switching. They've played in Landover, the old FedEx Stadium, as well as in Baltimore. Uh, but so I don't know if they have a fixed location, but Baltimore sounds like it would be a uh, good place to play.
Have you been before?
I've been to when I was 10 years old. I went to an Army Navy game.
I heard it was
Uh,
special. I heard it's quite
it
quite.
is it is something to remember.
Mm.
Just seeing the whole cadet corps and all the midshipmen march out on the field, and the Army's got the mule, and the Navy's got the goat, and they're all firing cannons every time they score a touchdown. And then they have what they call the prisoner swap.
Yes.
And what that is each year a group of cadets will spend a semester at Annapolis, and a group of midshipmen will spend a semester at West Point. And then during I think it's the beginning of the game, they have a prisoner exchange.
Wait, I didn't know they spent a semester. I
Yeah,
just thought it was like they just swapped that day. They spent a
yeah.
whole
They spend a
semester.
semester, and then they have a prisoner swamp, and they go back to their respective schools.
Is it an honor to be the people that spent a semester, or like you were in trouble, so you go spend a semester?
I don't know. I don't know that, but
Goodness.
I would think it'd be an honor,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. But yeah, I mean it's serious stuff. I spent 3 years consulting with the Army, and just being there around the Army guys. I mean
They
they
take
they
pride in it, don't they? They
yeah,
take
they
it
do. They
serious.
do. I mean, growing up, I was always rooting for the Navy because we went
Mhm.
to my dad and I and his best friend and his son always went out to the games in Annapolis. And my dad's best friend went to the Naval Academy. So
Wow.
I growing up, always rooting for, go Navy, beat Army.
Mm.
But
What, look, speaking of this game, and Jackson, feel free to chime in, but I heard another comment today about how the service academies football teams are really going to get hurt by this NIL because I mean they really don't have, quote unquote donors and money. They're government institutions. So I mean, what do they're in other words like their football teams because I mean what was it, Navy or something was or Army recently was ranked a top 15 team in the last few years. Will we ever see these days again because of NIL?
Um, Possibly, but I don't know if I see that happening. Now, look, we are a sports show, and we don't cover anything news. I leave that stuff to the news experts and to legal experts. But we are a sports show, Good Guys Sports. We don't talk anything about that or anything political. So I would just leave it at that. So I don't think I see it going away, but it could happen.
What about this game?
But I
This
hope
game
it
this
doesn't.
weekend. What are you predicting for the game this weekend,
So
Jack?
I think the Navy is going to keep this winning streak going, the second year in a row. So I think Navy will win by at least a field goal. And as far as the game goes, it will be the 250th anniversary, and they will be wearing special uniforms. And one of the quarterbacks that I have my eye on is Blake Halverden, a potential Heisman candidate. Although
Great
worse on the
name,
clock,
Jackson.
yes, a great special name and
Oh,
tribute
oh, he wasn't
comes
invited
from
though,
a
was he?
military. No, he wasn't, but he comes from a military
Can't be
family
that much of a
who
candidate then.
supports the military, and he loves being part of the armed forces and the different branches they supports. A special guy that he tributes for a very special man, young man,
Very nice, very nice.
true leader. Yes.
So you've got the Navy midshipman. Mike, are you with Jackson on that one?
oh, go Navy.
Go Navy, beat Army.
BL, what do you think about this one?
Mm, gosh, yeah, I feel like the Navy just they strike me as the underdogs. I think and you guys might be able to correct me, but I feel like they're behind in the win-loss total column on this game. Is that right? Significantly, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the I didn't have these stats pulled up before, but let's take a look.
Army went on a tear for a little while in this game.
Navy's 9-2 overall, Army is 6-5, so Navy is definitely the favorite here. Uh
Wait. I thought they've been playing for 250 years.
no, sorry,
Now is the
I meant for
250th
this season.
anniversary
Sorry, yeah.
of the Army celebrating their 250th anniversary, and so is the Navy.
What's the total record in the overall games they played?
I think
Total.
this is
Army's got to be up, right?
No, Navy's actually up by, I think it's like 65 to 53 to
Hey,
a couple ties,
Couple
couple
ties, yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Back when they had the old tie rules, soccer style.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the dog. I'm gonna go for Army, the overall dog.
Yeah,
Go on.
the
Hey,
records mean nothing. I
that's
mean,
true.
there's been years where
That's
either
true.
team has been, no wins at all, and they end up beating the the opponent. So
And it's just going to be a classic, like every year, where it seems like it snows or it is freezing there in their jackets, trying to stay warm. It looks like the temperatures are again going to be toasty for
it's
this
going to
game.
be cold. If it was playing on Sunday, they might be playing in the snow.
I feel like it's cold every year during this game on TV.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Blake.
Hey, let me, Blake, go ahead and do your pick, but then I got to ask you, as a Vandy guy, why I'm not hearing. Did Vandy have two or three losses this year?
Two losses overall
Uh,
to Texas and Alabama.
if they did a jersey swap and Vandy had Notre Dame's helmets and jerseys, would they be going to the playoffs?
That's what I'm saying, Blake. And I'm taking Army, by the way, with you. So we'll split on Army and Navy. But this is what I'm saying, man. I mean, it's a weird thing about college football. You can love it and you can hate it at the same time. It's a case of having wanting to have your cake and eat it too, where the teams are in the same conferences, and yet we can only let so many teams from these conferences in. So a Vanderbilt, who is a bit of a special case because they haven't really been relevant in college football until this sort of NIL
Right.
transfer portal era, and they're able to put together a great season and make a great case for the playoffs. And to Blake's point, if they were in the ACC or if they were independent team or whatever, they would be in the playoffs. But because they're in the SEC, you can argue they have these benefits and they're have a good resume because they're in the SEC, but at the same time, because they're in the SEC, they find themselves short in these playoff rankings.
Hey,
So
I, I'd be willing to argue they would be America's team if they put them in the playoffs. They'd become the Notre Dame. I think
one
every single
thousand percent, I think
like their
I
roots.
agree with you.
I think you're seeing it with these Heisman, which we'll talk about right now, actually. But yeah, I mean, certainly these sleeping giants or these teams that have traditionally been a punching bag in these conferences. You can even throw Indiana into that. I think Indiana probably is where to say the number one team in the country is the feel good story, but they are because Indiana is traditionally a basketball school, not a football powerhouse. But this year, they've proven to be the best team in the country, so they'll have a lot of support behind them in this playoff for sure. So I want to quickly jump into the Heisman for a couple minutes, and then we're going to shift topics here. But our Heisman candidates this year. Heavy favorite is Fernando Mendoza. I just mentioned the Indiana Hoosiers. He is the man behind center there in Bloomington. And then, of course, Diego Pavia, the upstart underdog quarterback for the Commodores, has been invited to this Heisman ceremony. And then, as well, Jeremiah Love and Julian Sayin are the other Heisman finalists that have been invited. Love the running back from Notre Dame, Sayin from Ohio State as well, making out this panel. You have to say though, Mike, it looks like Mendoza's heavy favorite. It looks like it'll be tough to get that trophy out of his hands this year, huh?
yeah, I think so. I think his victory over Ohio State, that 33-yard pass completion he did on 3rd and 6 to basically put the game on ice uh, with a little over 2 minutes to go against Ohio State might have tipped the edge. Although, Pavia's got some great numbers.
It's a great
Um,
story just having him there as well, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, Pavia's playing one less game, but has passed for more yards. And their completion rates, yards per attempt are pretty much equal. Where Pavia has a big edge is his rushing yardage and his 9 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah,
And it's going to be hard to pick the they're going to go 1 and 2 in my opinion, and it's going
that's
to
what
be
the odds
hard
are
to
saying
pick.
as well. Yeah.
But getting back to the Vanderbilt Tennessee game, the way Pavio just orchestrated that game
He was
and
slinging
and
it.
and just beat the Volunteers in their own stadium. That in itself, I think, should have got it for Pavio. I mean, the other two, San, kudos to him. I mean, he's a redshirt freshman,
Mm.
Mm.
you know, to be a finalist for the Heisman. I think that says a lot. I think if Ohio State had beat Indiana, then I think he might move up the ranking. Although he does have the highest completion rating this year in the major college teams. But he'll be around playing next year.
I don't know.
He's
I
not
mean,
eligible for the draft until the end of next year.
I'm sure me and you could have quarterbacked Ohio State to the playoffs, right, Mike?
Well, maybe not me, but
Hey, Phil Rivers is coming back. What do you mean? And now I heard
Don't rule it
who's
out.
Ben McNabb, baby, coming back at 49 for the Eagles.
that
Is the
Rivers. Oh, McNabb? No,
I don't know about
yeah,
that, but
but
McNabb at
Rivers is coming
49.
back for the Colts.
Yeah, got a grandkid. Will be the
don't
first
rule it out.
First
grandkid.
grandfather.
It's
Yeah, first.
possible. It's possible.
Only problem is that he's going up against going
Hey,
up
Ray,
against a very talented Seahawks
Hey,
defense.
Cam Newton's hearing these words, so I'm just saying.
all right, all right. We're talking Heisman right now, though, Jackson. Heisman,
for my
I want to
Heisman-
know what you make of these Heisman candidates, Jackson.
So Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame is a great story. Obviously, that would be a great distraction to take a break from after what Notre Dame was going through after college football playoff to at least take a break and have Marcus Freeman be the coach and just take a break from any distractions that you were being part of, especially from what you were going through over the last few days. So he's definitely in the competition, but I have to go with Mike. I've got to go with Frank Mendoza from Indiana, Francisco. That is, if you look at their game that he played in last week, 13-10, it was the same exact score as it was when Ohio State played in the game a year ago at the shoe in Columbus. The same that Mendoza was pretty much got some breaks, and Ohio State just missed some fourth down conversions, missed a field goal, and I think Mendoza and Indiana that time in that game got some breaks. So I think to me Mendoza by far their best quarterback in school history. And think about this: if he wins the Heisman and if they go all the way to win the national championship, then I think for me it is going to be not just the greatest comeback story in college football, but in all sports, but in college sports. Think about it for a second. He could be on that list and possibly win MVP. So I think Mendoza is a player to do it, and I think Mendoza will get it done, and he is going to take home that Heisman Trophy that Indiana has seen in years.
Can't look past Mendoza this year. I agree. He is the standout candidate. Great story to have the likes of Diego Pavia, a Vanderbilt football Heisman finalist. Who would have thought that in August? So credit where credit is due. I'm with you on Mendoza as well, though.
So both Mendoza and Pavio, they're both transfer students.
Yeah.
And neither Vanderbilt nor Indiana has ever had a Heisman winner.
This is very indicative of the changing landscape in college football, right, Mike?
Yeah. I think they're both great stories.
Absolutely. I think this is going to be the norm. I think we'll see more of this. Possibly, this could just be a one-off year, but I think we'll see more of these. Usually it's a quarterback from some of these programs that we're maybe not used to seeing. Heisman finalists, playoff contenders, things of that nature. So I'm personally excited for that. I think as a fan of a team like Vanderbilt, who's not as usually recognized, so I'm all here for it.
Last year, the Heisman winner did not play for a playoff team. Hunter for Colorado.
I was like, wait, I was forgetting about it for a second. Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
Are you talking? Are you? Oh yeah, I think. Oh yeah,
Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know you're talking about Travis Hunter. Yeah.
Jacksonville
Yeah.
Jaguar.
Yep. who plays in both positions of the ball. Yeah, that's right.
You know
All
what's
right.
crazy about this is guess who was favored to win the Heisman before last weekend?
Oh gosh. Was it the Ohio State quarterback before the Big Ten title game? I don't know.
According to Polymarket, make sure I'm reading this right. I believe Diego Pavie was favored before last weekend in that
Yeah.
game. And see, it's these conference championships. Hey, I did look up the Notre Dame agreement, so I think I'm still rooting for Diego Pavie. I know he's got a 4% chance. I think that I watched him on Saturday Night Lights, the Netflix special. Go watch it if you haven't watched it. I thought that man was awesome, but super cocky / confident. I was like, you had a lucky year. He's not doing it again this year, and he proved me wrong. That guy's got some dog in him. What happens to him next year? I'm rooting for him to win the Heisman. I don't think he's going to do it, but I'm still rooting for him. What did you guys say happens to him next year?
Well, unfortunately for him, Vanderbilt has actually gotten the top quarterback recruit in the country, if you can believe it, to flip from Georgia to Vanderbilt. So I do think Pavia's time will be up here
Yeah,
shortly, but
Pavia go the top one of the top 5 picks in the draft.
I think he'll go first round to the Washington Commanders. I think.
What's his height again? Is this a Bryce Young on our hands? What's his height?
No, listen, Blake. He's not going to be an NFL starter, is he? But it's a great underdog story.
Oh, you
Uh,
don't think he'll get taken by the NFL?
I think he could definitely make a career as a backup for sure, and I think he will find his. I think he'll find his way onto a team at some point, just given his character and how much of a hard worker he is and stuff like that. Um,
Eligibility's done in college?
I think maybe he was trying to get an extra year. Let's see on that. I mean, I
Somebody
think
would take
he's,
him for sure.
yeah,
Miami, there's a
I
big
think
team that would take
he's,
him.
I mean, he is 23, he's turning 24 in February.
BYU always has a 28-year-old quarterback. Stay with
Maybe, yeah, maybe he'll find his way to the Cougars. Who knows? But yeah, no, it's a great story and a Heisman ceremony that will be a great
cool.
one to watch. So stay tuned on
That's cool.
Saturday. I want to jump now to a little bit of MLB news. That's right. I said it, MLB news. Even though it is December, we had some pretty big news and notes come out of winter meetings, free agents, uh, signings, teams leaving teams, players staying on their current team. Mike, the baseball expert, I
Mhm.
want to jump to you. The standout transaction from these Major League Baseball winter meetings that we saw has to be Pete Alonso leaving the Mets to join the Baltimore Orioles. I was pretty surprised when I saw this headline drop. Mike, were you as well?
I was surprised, but not so surprised. I mean, Orioles offered Schwab the same money that he got from the Phillies, and they turned immediately around and offered Alonso 5 million more, 155 million for 5 years. So you're going to pay him $31 million a year.
So is the
You
case of
know,
the Mets just not thinking that was the responsible contract to
yeah.
hand out?
Well, I don't know. I think the Mets were asleep at the wheel because the day before Edwin Diaz went to the Dodgers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
not happy times for the Met fans right
Not
now,
happy
Jackson.
time. And then for the Mets fan base, they traded um I can't read my own writing. They traded a guy Brandon Nemo
Oh
uh
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
to the
yeah.
to the Rangers for Marcus Simeon.
See,
Now,
yeah.
that trade probably make for the Mets probably makes sense. But from a Mets fan base, I mean, Nemo was a well liked player.
Alonso, Diaz, Nemo, all out. Going to be an
Yeah,
unfamiliar team in New York. Jackson,
yeah.
what'd you make of the transactions? The Mets fans are not going to be too happy with their team right now, are they?
No, no, they're not. Think about it. This team collapsed at the end of the season, and
So that could be
it
why they're
just
making
went in
changes,
a
maybe then I
complete
guess, right?
downfall and a total rebuild by the Steve Cohen fan base. And that I can guarantee you that the Mets are pretty much heading in the wrong direction on a on a many category of things, and I think that what really stands out is how I believe it's becoming what would be a disaster, and it's a terrible move by the Mets organization for what they're doing with, and the best solutions to what I think what the Mets should really do at this point is what I think the Mets should be doing at this point is that they should go after somebody. I believe and I believe that the Mets have got to go after they got to go after some player, or else really I think that their or else I think their season just is going to be in a complete going the wrong direction. But I think really I just think the Mets just got to go after
Somebody.
they got to they got to get some big time player for the Mets.
Yeah, it's unfamiliar
They
for
got
them
to
because
go after
they've been a team that have been spending a lot of money in the
yeah
last couple.
yeah. I think
Well,
in
no,
my
I'm making a
opinion,
point right now, Jackson.
well,
Though, but
I think I got a player. They got to go after Jock Peterson for the Dodgers, although that's
well,
not going to go well.
Desperate
But
times.
then
But no, I
also,
think yeah,
before you jump in, Blake, real quick, because I know we're out of time. But my other point about this is that Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber, yeah. By the way, Jock Pearson was a player that I was mentioning that should have hired to make things a lot better for the fan base and organization for that team. But to Mike's points about Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber, I was reading an article on the MLB.com that the Red Sox were also involved, that they were this close to signing them, although they found out at the end that they couldn't match the offer, and that was really a setup to be for him to for Alonso to sign with the Orioles instead. So the offer there had a better offer that he matched with. So that's why he took the offer from the Orioles, and that's at the end of the day the reason why he chose Baltimore, because and the Mets just had too much money from the offer to re-sign him. It was just too much of a ask of the money for him to offer, and that was part of the reason why they couldn't re-sign him, and, and so the polar bear Pete Alonso find themselves in Camden Yard with the Orioles, and now you find yourselves, Mike, in a loaded AL East, which makes things very interesting between the Yankees with Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, and the Red Sox too, and Aaron Judge, by far baseball's best three players too,
Well,
and
don't forget the Blue Jays just signed Dylan Cease. They stole Dylan Cease from the Padres, and Toronto's not done yet. I mean, the AL East is going to be stacked next year. It's going to be fun to watch.
they are, Mike, and also very short on time. But I know that the Braves signed Robert Suarez from the bullpen,
Hmm.
and I know the Braves made a few offers by one of their players, but not a lot of movement for them so far. If they want to be able to catch the Phillies or in the NL East in that division, but yeah, a lot of movement so far down the winter meetings in down in Orlando in Major League Baseball for sure, Mike.
Yeah, well, the Braves just signed Mike. Yes, yeah,
Mike,
um, yes, yes, yes,
Sixami,
yeah, yes,
their backup,
yes, Shensky.
who is their backup outfitter, which should make
yes.
things more
Yeah.
interesting for that ball club down in Atlanta. For that bullpen for that team. So I do hope that the Braves do a lot better than they did last year when they missed the playoffs.
Yeah, and that might mean that they might let Marcell Ozuna walk, since now they can use one of the other outfielders as a DH.
Probably about time to let him go, I would say. It makes sense to me. Listen, Mike, anytime you get a Yaz in your lineup, that's usually a good sign
Hmm.
in my opinion. Whether
Yeah, I don't
it's
think the Giants should have ever gotten rid of Yaz.
yeah, I think he's kind of, he's a veteran at this point, right, isn't he? And
Yeah.
I think he had a cup of coffee with Kansas
He's
City
good
last
good
year, right?
defense. He's good at defense.
100%. So he's just going to be a guy that they could plug in there when they need him.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. I think this closer signing from San Diego as well is a good
Yeah, he's going to
move.
be the setup guy because Iglesias will still be the closer.
Of course, yeah, yeah. So it's a good bullpen bolstering.
Well,
They're obviously
that's a good one too.
so they're obviously making these moves. The Braves thinking, I think rightfully so, that they're going to be a postseason
Yeah.
contending team
Well,
next year.
you got a new manager this year in Weiss.
We should mention that as well, shouldn't we? Yeah, I think we haven't mentioned obviously Snicker moving on and the new manager coming in.
Yeah.
You mentioned the American League East, National League East. Schwarber coming back to the Phillies, Mets in turmoil possibly. So that division could definitely be an interesting one for sure
Yeah.
next
It
year
could
as
be
well.
end up being just two teams and buying it up for that division, the Braves and the Phillies.
Yeah, it's the Mets have been those big spending team these past couple of years, haven't they? And
Mhm.
something perhaps the bill is coming coming home to roost, as they say, in that respect. So yeah, some interesting transactions in MLB for sure. We got 1 or 2 minutes left here. Just want to quickly touch upon an event that happened last Friday it was, and that is the draw for the 2026 World Cup happening here in the US. Games as
Mm.
well being played in Canada and Mexico. Probably don't have enough time to do a full bracket busting episode pick here, but some interesting groups for sure. I'd encourage you to go check out the groups and the schedule and where these games are being played across the U.S. as well. A lot of major cities hosting these games this summer. The U.S. group, just to pick them out, has Paraguay, Australia, and then a one of the playoff winners from the European slots as well. They have a few spots left up for grabs that will be finalized in March. So pretty favorable draw for the U.S. on home soil, and some really interesting groups as well. Expanded 48 team format for this World Cup. So maybe not the strongest groups given the expansion of teams, but some interesting matchups for sure to look forward to this summer, Jackson. Any group standing out to you, here, man, before we go?
Um, yeah. One of the groups that I have my eye on is the group that our country, Team USA, is in. They are with Team Australia
I'm
in
more of a
Group
Germany
D.
fan, but
Well, and I'm Team France and Spain too. So don't forget about that. But a few things I have to say before we call ourselves tonight on Good Guy Sport on the Good Guy
quickly.
Sports Show. Very is that is that we did not get is that my dad and my brother and I and the whole family did entered a chance in the lottery. We did not win tickets,
Oh, why are you bringing
sadly,
that up? I mean, that's not
because
relevant.
but my point is that we will not be going to the World Cup on
Well,
games
we don't
in
know.
person.
We don't know that.
But it's early, but
For some press passes.
yeah, because yeah. Help us out, Blake. Feel us and do us up a full
Yeah,
USA
Blake.
tour. I have a better idea, Blake. Why don't you take your Tesla out across the USA for all these events
Yeah,
for us?
there you
That
go.
would be great. I'm all in for that. But my point is, Blake
Yes,
Gerke, is that if we don't get tickets for those games, then but that's not going to stop the whole family for us going to some watch parties at those sites because
for sure. Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I definitely don't want to be watching all those games on the couch in our house.
Now it'll be a great atmosphere in the U.S. this summer for these games. You'll see lots of traveling fans over. Of course, you got the usual countries qualified: Brazil, Argentina, Germany, Spain, England. Even got the Scotland as well. Mike qualified
Mm.
for the first time since 1998. So we see some Scots roaming around the East Coast this summer. wearing kilts. Give them a wave, Mike, would you?
I will.
All
Would
right.
fun.
Well, I'm
Hey,
sure we'll. Yeah, go ahead, Blake.
guys, before we go, this is a question that's been meandering for a few weeks. Is that I've never heard this phrase mentioned more than the past month, and I don't know what it means. I don't ever remember hearing. But the announcers keep talking about the bell cow on the field. I don't know if Mike knew what the heck is the bell cow. They're like, this player is the bell cow of the team.
You talking about like for like
Phrase.
from like a football perspective?
Yeah, yeah, they're just like players that been the bell cow of the Philadelphia Eagles for years now. Like, what does that mean?
So I think bell cow just means kind of like your workhorse on offense, I believe, like the team or the player that is like carrying the majority of snaps and kind of like leading the team, I would say, is my understanding of that. But
Okay, maybe the bell cow of the field was like the leader of the cows or something. That's what the cows
yeah,
followed was the
I
cow with the
Yeah.
bell on it. I don't know what it.
That's what I only thing would think it would be the lead cow.
I think it, yeah, I
Okay,
think
that
it's
makes.
refers to like the workhorse, but yeah, we'll do some research
Yeah.
on that and we'll
I
maybe we'll
think
get back
Chris
to you.
Collinsworth said to the and also read the article. The Notre Dame agreement was signed after they got snubbed, and it basically that the playoffs will no longer affect them getting into the playoff. The conference championships will no longer have any impact on them getting into the college playoffs.
Very interesting,
So
very
go check it
interesting.
out.
Some
Yeah,
conspiring
super interesting.
conspiring
The
behind
ink
the
is
scenes there. Yeah.
dry.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
ink is dry.
For sure,
Go check
for sure.
it out.
Very interesting happenings in the world of college football and the world of all sports, as a matter of fact. And happy to break it all down with you, gentlemen, here on this show today. So, Jackson, Mike, B.O. Lineberger, I want to thank you for joining us on a great week of Good Guy Sports. We'll be back next week to discuss some big college football preview matchups and many more happenings in the sports world. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
See you
night.
Go
guys.
Canes.
See you.
Good,
Yeah,
guys.
go.